Hey crafters, are you interested in creating 4 cards quickly with one piece of cardstock with no waste? I'm G, and that's what we're gonna do today. So let's head down to the crafting table. Let's do this. The first thing we want to do to this piece of cardstock is go ahead and split it halfway, both sides. So bring in your trimmer, and we're going to score it on the short side at 4 1/4. Then we're going to turn it the long way, and we're going to score it at 5 1/2. We're going to take this piece of cardstock and turn it into a one-sheet wonder. Now, the next thing you need to do is decide on what stamp you want to use. We are going to use several stamps. We're going to use this stamp set because we like these splotches, and we're going to put that at the very end of our card. We're using this stamp set because I really like this leaf for our card. We're using this stamp set for thinking of you. And we're using this new stamp set that we bought, Impressions of Bloom, for all these different flowers. Now, as we create this one-sheet wonder, remember, use what you have, flowers, butterflies, images, to create your one-sheet wonder. So the next thing we want to do is we've already scored it, but you may not be able to see it that well. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to pop that crease in just a little bit, just so that we can see it a little better. And now we can really see it, and we know exactly how we're going to stamp. So I'm going to put this right here. And the first thing I want to stamp are my large flowers at each end and in the center. So I'm going to bring in Melon Mambo. And this is a 2-stamp process. So the background is going to be in Fresh Freesia, and the definition is going to be in Melon Mambo. So let's stamp our background first. Now, I'm going to keep a piece of scrap paper over to the side just in case I feel I need to stamp off, because I don't want this background really dark. Okay, so tap, tap, tap. I'm going to put one right in the center. Now, I also need some paper to the side because I will be stamping off. And now I'm going to bring in my definition using my Melon Mambo. Look at how pretty that looks. So pretty. And it's so easy to line up. Next, we're going to bring in our medium-sized flower. And we're going to use Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape. Gorgeous Grape is going to be our definition. So we're going to put our purple flowers right here on all areas, just like this. Now let's bring in our definition. And now let's put some yellow in our middle of our flowers. Next, we're going to bring in our leaves, and we're using old olive. Now, you want to make sure that you leave enough space for your sentiment because we're going to use a really big sentiment. So let's move over to this one. Now, another little tip is I want some leaf right here, but you can do several things. You can block off part of it, but I'm also going to stamp just a part of it because I need just about that much. So I'm going to take my ink pad and I'm going to just ink up that. But just to make sure that it doesn't get on the flower, I'm going to go ahead and also bring in a Post-it note and put right there, just so that I know it won't get on anything. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and just flip my cardstock because now we're going to bring the leaves in the other side. And you can decide to use whichever leaves you want. If you want smaller leaves, no problem. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring in that Post-it note one more time. And now I'm going to bring in my third flower. And for that, I'm going to use Yellow and Poppy Parade. And I'm just going to fill in some spots that we have missing. And this looks really busy when you do your one sheet wonder, but when you cut this apart for your mats, it's going to be just stunning. So we're going to do yellow. And now we're going to add our sentiment. Now we're going to use Thinking of You. So tap, tap, tap. We're going to put it right here in this blank spot. And we're just going to go around, and we know that we have our 4 quadrants right here. So we need our sentiment here, here, and here. Just going to flip over our paper. And now let's cut this apart so we can see the mats. So we just put our cardstock back in the trimmer, and we're going to cut it on the long side at 5.5. We're lining up this line right here. Now we're going to turn it the other way and cut it at 4 1/4. And now that we can see it better, our beautiful mats, just like that. Now we can add our splotches, and we're going to use the very light fresh freesia because it's not too dark. And we're just going to add some splotches in these areas. Now, you just need to ask yourself, do you want to add it to white cardstock or do you want a color cardstock? I think we're going to add it to white cardstock because that way you don't have to double mat the inside. It's already white and you can leave it just like that. So we have 4 landscape cards that we're going to add the mat to, but there's one step left. Now, there's several ways you can do it. When you have your big piece of cardstock, you can go ahead and score it, and then if you don't want your mat to go over the entire card like this, which I don't, I want a little border around it, so we have to cut this down just a little bit. You can do it now, or you could do it when you have your piece of cardstock, and you can just cut off a quarter at one side and the long side cut a quarter, and then it will be exactly the size you need. But I didn't want to do that because I always like to look at my mats and see. Maybe I want to cut it over here or on this side. I just never know. But let me go ahead and size this. I need to cut off a 1/4 inch on the short side and a 1/4 inch on the long side. So let's add these to our cards. I'm going to bring in my favorite glue. Now, take these little pieces right here that we cut off, and let's add them as a strip right here at the bottom just to make the inside pop. So we're just going to put a little bead of glue right here. I'm going to grab one piece and just add it right to the bottom. And it just makes it pop just a little bit. So let's look at these cards. Look at this. This was a one-sheet wonder, and look at what it created. Just a beautifully cheerful card. Now, you may not have those flowers. Maybe you have another flower. I took a different stamp and I made this one. So let's look at those. Now, this one I made a portrait. And once again, I just took my one-sheet wonder and I just divided it into quadrants and I came up with those. So what do you think about our one-sheet wonder? It is such an easy way to take one piece of cardstock, turn it into 4 cards quickly with no waste, and we love that. Well, I hope you enjoyed our time together and that you were inspired by this one-sheet wonder, because we certainly had fun creating it for you. Take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. It only takes a minute. Well, until next time, Maudie and I wish you lots of creative moments. Bye-bye.